Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Selby series. Selby is one of 11 subdivisions of the county of North Yorkshire. It's made up of 74 civil parishes, a lot of which are very small. Which one are we in this week? Welcome back to Selby, everybody, and in much the same way as Rickall, which you saw a couple of weeks ago, we're beginning here at a former coal mine. Now this one, unlike the one in Rickall, has not been redeveloped into anything. That one's now the A19 Business Park. This one still lies abandoned and nothing's happened with it. There are some great shots that I can give you later of this place from up above, because on Google Maps photospheres are wonderful things. Some guy sent a drone up over this site and it shows you exactly what it looks like. I'll include that a little bit later in the video, but for now let's go and explore the parish of Stillingfleet. This Selby episode is sponsored by Past Days, a family history blog by June Terrington. You'll find a link in the description. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Stillingfleet is where we are today, about 6 miles south of York, adjacent to a large meander on the River Ouse. On the eastern bank, the nearest settlements are Kelfield and Naburn. Appleton, Roebuck and Acaster Selby adjoin Stillingfleet on the western bank, although no bridge to them exists over the river. This area was historically part of the East Riding of Yorkshire until 1974. The origin of the name Stillingfleet lies in Old English. The name means stretch of river belonging to the family or followers of a man called Styfel. The village was recorded as Steflingefled in the Domesday Book. It's situated on the northern edge of the Escrick moraine, either side of the Stillingfleet Beck. Linking the two sides is Stillingfleet Bridge, which in and of itself could make a 10-minute video. It'll get its little bit of limelight here though. One of Stillingfleet's darkest days was Boxing Day in 1833, when 11 members of a party of carol singers from the village drowned when their boat overturned in the River Ouse. Stillingfleet has been cited as one of 3 locations for a new development of 3,800 houses within Selby. If approved, the new village would be called Heronby. It's met some stiff opposition so far. If it's soon to change, come with me and see the village before it all does. We begin on the green, although more accurately this should be called the Greens, plural, because this area was formerly known as the Town Greens. This is the intervening ground between two sides of a shallow valley which is still regularly flooded, although not to the extent that it causes major damage, thankfully. Most of the village's houses are strung out along the dry margins. In the centre is Stillingfleet Beck, which runs in a westerly direction into the River Ouse. This is the same watercourse as in Escrick, just further downstream. So the original plan for this video was to start at the Stillingfleet Lodge Gardens, which, if I show you where they are, So basically we've walked across the green, across that rickety bridge there, and the gardens are literally just round that corner, and they are open on, what was it, Wednesday, Friday, and every first and third Saturday of the month. Now today is the first Saturday of the month, so they are open today. However,
we're just a bit early.
We're a bit early because they're not open until 1 o'clock, and it's about 11:15 at the moment. So yeah, we
so don't get tea and cake.
Yeah, we don't
know if there's a tea and cake shop there, like, but don't get tea and cake.
I imagine there will be if it's like a garden centre. Who knows? Who knows? You guys will know better than we do anyway. So yeah, that's Stillingfleet Lodge Gardens. If you fancy coming here, that's when it's open. Next is the Methodist Chapel. Methodism was introduced to Stillingfleet in the 1760s, but it was not until 1819 that a permanent chapel was built. The chapel was refurbished in 1911 and again in 1955. We've now hit the B1222, the main road through Stillingfleet towards York. At this point it's called Church Hill, but it changes its name to York Road later. Here's a parish notice board. We go briefly out onto Cawood Road next to catch the Cross Keys pub. A Samuel Smith's pub, it's currently closed, but in 2019 the Stillingfleet Gazette, the village newspaper, reported it was soon to reopen. Now to Stillingfleet Bridge. A bridge of some kind has been here since at least the 1300s. That's a known fact thanks to a former inhabitant who went by the name of Thomas at the bridge. In 1818 the bridge was said to be narrow and in disrepair. It was rebuilt in stone in 1820 with one attractive semicircular arch and long approaches across the town greens. So Nikki didn't want to walk the whole way around Stillingfleet, so we're going to reconvene with her in the churchyard in a few moments time. So I'm on my own just for this next part, which basically takes us around the other side of the green. So you've got the central bridge there, and then I'm walking along here along the beck. There's another bridge over this the beck, and that will take us up towards the top of the village, the very sort of north, let me get this right, north eastern corner, and then the church is literally just there, which will be our finishing point. So yep, let's keep walking, let's keep motoring, see what else we can spot. Town greens, by the way, are common land, which is what I suspected at the time of filming. If you follow the road on this side of the bridge, it leads to Gale Lane, linking you to the main Cawood to Escrick Road. In addition to Stillingfleet Bridge, there are two footpaths over the beck. These run over wooden footbridges. This one is not as rickety as the first one was, that's for sure. If the new Heronby village is to be built, construction traffic will likely increase around here. At the moment though, the only construction taking place is on the B1222, where we encounter two new plots. Always a surefire way to know that you're approaching the church. Here we have the old rectory, hiding behind these rather large trees. And over there, our next landmark is a phone box. As it turns out, the phone box is rather disappointingly just an empty shell. There's no phone, no book exchange, and no defib machine. Maybe someday it can see a new lease of life. Moving on, we have a cemetery next, which is actually a churchyard extension. The tall cross you can see in the centre of shot is not a grave, rather that's the village's war memorial. Here's a bus stop pretty much bang outside the cemetery. The number 42 is the service that calls here, running between Selby and York. The bus shelter also serves as the village's book exchange. This building here is the Stillingfleet Village Institute, which has served the village since 1927. It's an extremely versatile facility which is great for meetings, classes, parties and other social events. And Stillingfleet has no post office, as you might have expected. There is a postbox though in this wall. It doesn't have a shop either, unless you count the Harmony Tea Room just around the corner. Okay, so Nikki's already had a little explore of this churchyard, so...
I've had a little explorer more than the churchyard.
Yes, I know, because you went into the graveyard as well, didn't you, the cemetery?
There's a churchyard, and then there's a cemetery over the road to it as well, and like the bus stop and the I think it's a WY, Village Institute, something
yeah,
like
we've just caught that. So
yeah.
Because you've been in here already, you're now a tour guide. So what did you find?
I didn't actually check that the church was open. Because I figured that we could do that together, and if it is open, go in together as we did in the last village. But here at the church, I had a quick walk round. It's one of those churchyards that's been partially maintained. So it's been maintained enough sort of from the road that it looks nice, but when you get into the back area of the cemetery, it is a bit overgrown and left to nature. Whether that's intentional or not, who knows. But look at that wonderful archway, the church door, the beaks and things over the door. It's just amazing. There's an information board about that which we'll catch in a minute.
I'm assuming it uses a word beginning with T.
Yeah, I can't remember it though.
Tympanum, we've seen these before.
Yeah, it's not open because I mean there's cobwebs going around the church door, so
It's not open, okay.
Now the other thing that I found in this churchyard, and these have always been a source of a little bit of amusement to me, is a sundial. And last time I saw a sundial I was like, yeah, that's the wrong time. It was up in Thorpe Arch, I think. But this one, it's not on the wall, it's right here. The wooden plinth.
And it is showing the right time.
It's showing the right time.
Absolutely right. Spot on. Anything else, Nikki?
Yep, there's the information board outside the lit gate.
Okay, we'll catch that. We'll catch that as well. St Helens Church is a Grade 1 listed building. It wasn't mentioned in the Domesday Book and was probably built around 1154 by Robert de Stuteville as a manorial chapel. Inside the church is the Morby Chapel, where you'll find an effigy of a knight thought to be Sir Robert Morby. The impressive Morby Hall is to the north of the village. Here's the lit gate, by the way. This board mentions the Stillingfleet door, also in the church, which may predate it by as much as 2 centuries. Made of iron, nobody knows exactly how old it is, but best guesses say it's 10th century. Okay, a bit more on the bridge for you. Go on, Nikki. What we
Okay,
got?
so I had to walk across the bridge while Andy was going off down the other end of the village green, and there were some tablets on the bridge. So the first one, and we'll put the pictures of these in the picture bit, says, "This tablet was erected by grateful parishioners to commemorate the Great Flood, March 22nd to March 29th, 1947. Also in memory of the kindness shown by Captain R. Boyle for the loan of the boat and a Mr. A. Elcock and his crew. The depth of the water was 21 feet.
That's quite a lot.
So by the sounds of it, that bridge was pretty covered. There was a big flood here. The second tablet is concerning the lamps. Now at each end of the bridge, on the far side of it from where we are here, there's a lamp on the end sort of stanchion of the bridge. And originally the 2 lamps were erected on this bridge in 1902 to commemorate the coronation of Edward the 7th, August 9th in that year, I think it says. It's a very, very hard to read bronze sort of tablet that's become very weather worn. And the last one, camera reel's playing up now, hang on a sec. Right, so those 2 lamps, the ones that were originally erected to commemorate Edward VII's coronation, they were replaced in 1992 by the parish council and supported by Selby District Council 90 years after they were originally installed. So basically the original ones must have got sort of pretty clapped out or unserviceable, and the parish council then chosen to replace them. Now I don't know if you'll see this, but I did get a picture of one of the new lamps, and again we can always pop this in the picture bit at the end.
Stillingfleet, your tour guide is my wife.
Only for a short segment of it. Well, that's a short segment. It's just 2 of the biggest landmarks in the village, the church and the bridge.
Okay, that's the main walk completed. Picture bit is coming your way right now, and straight after that we'll talk a bit about Stillingfleet Mine with those shots from Google Maps that I was talking about. As we saw at the top, Stillingfleet once had yet another one of the Selby coalfield mines, which like all the others closed in 2004. Google reckons it's an 8-minute walk away from the road where I was earlier. These images come from a photosphere pulled from Google Maps and show you what it looks like now. Stillingfleet mine effectively sits in the middle of nowhere almost. As a mine, Stillingfleet was fairly small. 2 shafts were sunk to a depth of 708 metres, reaching the Barnsley seam in 1982. It would take until 1988, though, for any coal to actually be mined from here. When coal seam problems were encountered at the neighbouring North Selby mine in 1997, the 2 mines were merged together. This one has only been partially redeveloped. In 2012, Stillingfleet mine was being used for extraction and generation from coal mine gas. Further redevelopment as a waste sorting centre is being sought. Okay, to finish with, I was going to go to Old Pasture Park. I drove up this track here thinking it was a fishing lake. I thought it was a fishery, and it seems it is, except it's for members only because it's part of the Caravan and Motorhome Club. So yeah, I missed that one on the map, never mind. So I'll just mention it here, and this will be the very last part of the Stillingfleet episode. So yeah, if you're a member of the Caravan and Motorhome Club, get yourself here if you've never been here before. What do we think of Stillingfleet, missus?
That's another nice one. I like that green, it was massive.
Huge green.
Yeah,
yeah.
And you know what, it makes a change actually to see one that actually looks a bit more like a natural meadow rather than something that's been, you know, heavily manicured, and you know the grass is all the same height and there's, you know, flower beds and things. It's nice to see one that's kind of a little bit au naturel, as it were.
Yeah, makes a change, doesn't it?
Quite like that.
Yeah. Okay, we've got one left to film today, and it's the smallest one of the bunch, but it's the one with the most interesting story. You'll see what that's all about when we get there in next week's episode. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the parish of Stillingfleet, and I'm out.